What if the future of energy in the Philippines is not on land, but floating on water? In Laguna de Bay, one of the most ambitious solar projects in Asia is turning open water into a power source, and the engineering behind it is more surprising than it first appears. But the real question is not just how big it is how something this massive can float, stay stable, and survive the forces of nature. At first glance, placing solar panels on a lake sounds unusual. But water gives engineers a hidden advantage. It saves land, reduces competition with farms and cities, and can even help panels stay cooler than they would on hot ground. That cooling effect matters more than most people realize, because solar panels lose efficiency when temperatures rise. And once you understand that, the next question becomes even more interesting. How do they stop an entire solar field from drifting apart? The answer starts with a floating platform system built from modular units that spread the weight across the surface. Think of it like a giant grid of interlocking rafts, but engineered for precision, not recreation. Every panel must sit at the right angle, every section must remain aligned, and every connection must handle constant movement from wind and waves. But floating is only the beginning, because the real challenge is what happens when the weather turns aggressive.
A floating solar farm cannot just be left to drift with the current. It needs a carefully designed anchoring system to hold position while still allowing small movements as water levels rise and fall. This balance is critical because too much restriction can damage the structure, while too much freedom can let the entire array shift out of place. And in a place like Laguna de Bay, that is not a minor detail, because the lake itself is never truly still.
Wind, waves, rain, and seasonal changes all push against the system every day. During storms, the panels must endure strong gusts and surface disturbance without snapping, tilting, or colliding. The design has to account for drainage, spacing, load distribution, and corrosion resistance, because water is both the asset and the threat. But even if the hardware survives the weather, the next question is whether the project actually changes anything on a national scale. That is where the scale becomes important. A floating solar farm is not just a clever engineering experiment. It is part of a broader shift toward cleaner power generation and more efficient use of limited space. When built at massive scale, it can contribute real electricity to the grid, while avoiding some of the land constraints that slow other projects. And yet, the biggest surprise may be what this kind of project represents for the future of infrastructure in the Philippines. This is not only about solar panels on water. It is about how a country with dense cities, limited open land, and intense climate pressures can rethink where energy comes from. Floating solar turns a lake into an energy platform, and that simple idea opens the door to a very different kind of landscape. But once engineers prove this model works, the obvious question is where else it can go next. If Laguna de Bay can help power the grid from its surface, then the line between water and infrastructure starts to blur. What once looked like empty space may become one of the most valuable places for clean energy in the country. And the next generation of power projects may not rise from the ground at all. They may rise from the water. If you enjoy deep dives like this, subscribe to Beneath the Archipelago for more stories about the hidden forces shaping the Philippines.